So here's some tools for supplier selection. So as I mentioned in the last video, we have our multi-criteria analysis. But how do we do that? So let's dive into how we do that and show you one real quick. So here are the steps for a multi-criteria analysis. We need to first decide on what criteria are we going to measure. Are we going to measure the quality, the cost? Are we going to measure the delivery? Are we going to look at the supplier's financials to see if they are even going to survive as a company for a period of time? We have to figure out all this stuff. How are we going to rate them? Or not how are we going to rate them? What are we going to rate them? And then we have to set the weights. So we have to set the weights. All of them, the entire weight category has to equal 1. So that means if you're going to weight something 10%, well, that's 0.1. And usually the weight category is in percentages. So go ahead and just put them in percentages because it makes everything a lot easier. And then your final supplier score total line will be 100, which would equal 1 before we converted it to a percentage. Okay, then we need to define our scoring system. So are we going to make it a 0 to 100, a 1 to 100? Are we going to do a 1 to 10, a 1 to 5, a 1 to 3? What is our scoring system? Is it 1 to 1,000? We need to define this. Okay, then we need to evaluate our options. This is where we're actually going through and evaluating all the companies, or evaluating all our alternatives here. And then finally, we're going to calculate the results. And then we'll be able to pick who we're going to choose based on those results. So here's an example of a multi-criteria analysis. So you can see here, the factors that they're going off of are quality, cost, delivery, responsiveness, sustainability, financial, relational, potential, and then you have your total line of supplier score. Your weights are there. So you have 20, 20, 15, 15, 15, 5, and 10. All that should equal 100. And your companies are across the top. So you have Buckeye, Razorback, Red Hawk, Spartan, and Volunteer. And then you evaluate them. So you actually put in that 98, 95, 98, 95, 95. You put in those values. And then you finally total it at the end. So you take that first 98 there for Buckeye, multiply that by 20%, do the same, the 90 times 20%, 95 times 15%, so on and so forth for all the categories, and your score is at the bottom. So based on this, looking at the numbers, which one would be the best option? I'll give you a hint. It's the one with the highest score. So if you said Red Hawk, you were correct. So Red Hawk is the best option based on this multi-criteria analysis. And you shouldn't be second guessing yourself here, because you put down all the factors that you wanted to evaluate, you put the weights down, and then you scored everybody along the same standard. So there's no need to reconsider Spartan because they got a lower score. No, this is unbiased. 95.5 for Red Hawk is the highest score. That's it. It's straightforward. So don't second guess it. If you need to take a look at, let's say one company got 50. Well, that could be an outlier. Well, why is it an outlier? Did you do the math right? Redo the math. Check it. But you can show this to any manager and they can see, okay, Red Hawk is the choice. Or the manager might say, well, did you consider these factors? And they might add some factors, or they might say, oh, don't worry about sustainability or financial, or they might say, don't worry about these categories. Which means you would have to go back and change some weights. Or the manager might change the weighting. But based on the work you've done here, Red Hawk is the one to go with. So I hope you understood this, and we'll go over this again in class. But what about another tool called the make versus buy decision? how do we decide if we're going to make something or we're going to buy it? So let's talk about that in our next video.